What's up everyone, Jonas here for Thomann synthesizers. In today's video I would like to dive into the topic of ring modulation, and perhaps it's the lesser known sibling of AM and FM modulation, but in my opinion not less interesting. Let's jump right in and let's talk a little bit about the theory behind ring modulation. For this one I'm using Ableton and Ableton's internal operator as well as a ring modulator VST. Let's check it out. Here we have the plain sine wave on 300 Hertz, roundabout. There we go. Here we can see it's almost like 300 Hertz, the peak. So what the ring modulation does, it's giving you the difference and the sum. So it would be in this case, if we set the ring modulator to 400 Hertz, it would be 300 plus 400, it's 700, and 400 minus 300 is 100. So let's check it out. I'm going to turn on the modulator now. And here you can see we have two different peaks now, one at 100 and the second one at 700. So it can be difficult to use it with chords because you have a lot of information coming in, but we can try. In this case I'm using wavetable with the sine wave and a chord. So let's turn on the ring modulator and let's see what it does to a lot of informations. You can see it's a lot of metallic frequency, let's say, added to the source of our sound. Perhaps let's increase the harmonics of the source signal. And I think it's pretty interesting that you have still the same vibe, let's say, but in a really different perspective. Let's find out now how ring modulation sounds on an analog synthesizer. For this one I'm going to use my beloved Deckard's Dream because I'm not sending chords via MIDI to the synthesizer. Rather I'm going to use the tuning of the second oscillator in the Deckard's Dream itself. So let's say I'm sending single notes to the synthesizer and I'm using the synthesizer itself to make the sound a little bit bigger, wider, and translate it into a little chord. So here we have one oscillator. For this one I'm using the square wave. So let's add the second layer. So of course ring modulation is really unpredictable and more of a theory and mathematical structures than just musical interaction sometimes, let's say. So it's kind of difficult to tune it and it's sometimes not possible and sometimes it can sound terrible, but let's have a try to tune just a single note. Here we have just one single note, and now let's use the Fairfield ring modulation. And now it's on 100%. So we can add a little bit of harmonics via the low pass filter. I have like a really fast and weird tremolo, but I like it more subtle. So let's tune this a little bit down, maybe, if it's working. So this would be a C as well. But I like it this way actually, maybe. Let's combine it together. So let's blend a little bit of the original signal into it. And now we have like more metallic, more characterful, a bit noisy, but I really like the character we have given to the synthesizer a lot now. So I like it, it's like a kind of disharmonic but fitting, a little bit sad, melancholic, cloud rubbish perhaps. So to me it appears deeper and richer and more textural than before. So let's try a different tuning of the ring modulation, and maybe perhaps a little bit lower. Yeah, maybe like this. Yeah, I like it a little bit more than the first try. It's more into the same spectrum and the same frequency range, a little bit more specific. So this is before. Of course it's really nice already because it's one of my favorite synthesizers, but I like the richness we can add to it via the ring modulation as well. So what I think is pretty nice on the Fairfield ring modulator is that you can increase and decrease the amount of the dry-wet signal. So by this we have the chance to add a little bit of the wet signal to the dry signal, and by applying this we thicken the sound because we add like the splitted frequency bands to the original signal. Alright, let's move a step forward and check out ring modulation on more plucky stuff, because then everything is pretty short and has a different character as well. For this one we are going to use the ARP 2600, and I like this one in particular because you have a lot of options. It's kind of modular, East Coast, West Coast, something in between, a little bit weird, and of course you have the opportunity to work with ring modulation. So let's send some notes via Ableton and the internal arpeggiator of Ableton to the 2600. The first oscillator, second oscillator and third oscillator. Let's now increase the amount of ring modulation. And we hear it's already immediately a lot more metallic and darker and a little bit richer in texture and body, I would say. Of course, this is a lot more cleaner, the original signal, but the ring modulated signal has a little bit more punch to me, but we can push this a little bit more by using the square wave for the first oscillator. And we underline the metallic character of it a little bit more as well. So let's use the sample and hold a little bit with the noise output to the noise generator input of the sample and hold. Then we use the clock to the trigger and gate to the sample and hold out. Let's increase the noise signal a little bit. And let's use the ring output to the sample and hold gate input. And I really like the plucky, almost percussive sounding kind of character. Yeah, sometimes because of the sample and hold, like the West Coast comes through, sometimes the East Coast, and the ring modulation like glues everything together a lot. Let's play with the rate of the sample and hold a little bit. Let's stay in the area of plucky stuff and let's create some drums with ring modulation. In this case, I'm using the ring modulator by IO Instruments. And what I like about this module in particular is that you have plenty of different settings you can work on, a lot of parameters to tweak to increase the amounts of the different X or Y signals to combine them. Let's check it out with some drums. The drums in this case are coming from the Nord Drum 3P, and it's a, yeah, let's say kind of plain static tom. And the second signal is coming from the foundation oscillator by Verbos. And together I want to blend them to make a thicker tom than before. Let's check out the signal coming from the Nord Drum, so the plain signal without any ring modulation. So here I can tweak the decay. And the second one is coming from the Verbos. So let's increase the level of ring modulation. And we can already hear the harmonics, which are going to be splitted or added to our first signal. And here it's much more characterful than before. Of course, the results can differ a little bit when you use a different source of the carrier. So in my opinion, it's almost close to the FM modulation, but with a really interesting character. Alright, I think that's it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and if you have any interesting ideas how you use ring modulation, then please put it in the comment section and we will check that out. So thanks again and see you next time.